Happy Wednesday. I am out here in the pavilion for another real quick video that is inspired by some of the things that Chris has said in his last video, along with some listening that I've been doing just about my hobbies. And overall, I've just been thinking a lot about the difference between our methods as a church, the ways that we spread the gospel, and our message, which is the gospel itself. So if you know me pretty much at all, you know that I am a really big movie fan. The way that I think about sports is the same way that I think about movies. I follow them, I look at their box office numbers, I've got favorite directors, favorite producers, favorite writers, all those sorts of things. And I listen to a lot of podcasts about movies. So one that I was listening to this week was about distribution methods, the ways that movies get out into the world, the way that people watch them and view them. And specifically this one was about the sort of battle that happened in the mid to early 2000s between Blockbuster and Netflix. Blockbuster was the giant of video rentals at that point in history. Netflix was the new fresh upstart, and the battle between them has sort of become emblematic of larger trends within the film community. So Netflix is founded in 1997. At that point, Blockbuster is sort of the giant of the video rental world. If you have never been to a Blockbuster, it's the thing with the big blue ticket stub. You go there, there's just racks and racks of DVDs, VHS tapes, really expensive video games, Sour Patch Kids. They were on top of the world when it comes to that business. And Netflix comes in, and they have this totally different business model. And they're saying, rather than expecting our customers to come to a physical brick and mortar location, we're going to only base our business on the web. We're going to have a website, people will sign up, they will pay a monthly subscription fee, and what we'll do is we will actually send them DVDs in these little paper envelopes, and they can go through our entire catalog online. We'll send them DVDs. They can pay a bit extra if they want to get 2 DVDs. So this is a disruption. This is a huge change to the established model of how people go and rent movies. So Blockbuster, they see Netflix coming up, and remember, they're on top of the world at this point. So they see Netflix and they're like, silly upstart kids. They don't know what the people want. They don't want to go online. They don't want to go through a bunch of little pictures on their dial-up internet computers. They want to go into a physical store. They want to be talked to by a 15-year-old boy who thinks he knows everything about movies, and they want to rent
Final Destination 12.
They want to see racks and racks and racks of DVDs. They want to see all the VHSs they can possibly handle, and we will charge them way more than we possibly should. So yeah, when I first heard out about Netflix, I was totally on board with the Blockbuster method of things. I loved going to the video store, pick up like 3 or 4 DVDs and just take them home and spend like all my money for that week on it. I loved what they were giving me because I loved movies. And then I looked and saw this thing called Netflix. And Netflix had everything, ever. Netflix had Fellini movies from Italy. They had old westerns from John Ford, and I wanted to see that. So, even though I loved so much going to Blockbuster, I realized that the method that Netflix had was much more flexible. If you've rented a movie in the past 20 years, you know that Blockbuster did not win that battle. In fact, they got stomped. Netflix pretty much ran them off of the scene. They took over their entire share of that business, and, in my opinion, did much more for the world of film by exposing people to more movies, to more ideas, and they started using this very innovative practice of not even mailing DVDs. They started streaming movies, which was unheard of at the time when that started. And this is where that concept of method versus message comes in. Because what's interesting is Blockbuster and Netflix both had the exact same message, which was movies are good, rent them, maybe buy them. So you got 2 companies that are rivals that have the exact same message, but they're going about it in 2 totally different ways. Blockbuster was going with the centralized, you come to us, we will provide what you need. Netflix flipped it, they made it decentralized, and they said, we will actually bring it to you, or no matter where you are. Blockbuster, because it refused to change its methods, even when it saw something else coming down the pike, ended up dying. And Netflix, as you know, ended up thriving. 2 of the nominees for Best Picture this past year were directly financed and funded and produced by Netflix, by a video rental company, and that is insane. Blockbuster, on the other hand, died completely. They are now sort of a symbol for the lack of flexibility in an organization in the business world, and their logo is sold as a nostalgia commodity. Like, you can buy t-shirts and hats with the Blockbuster logo on it because people miss it because it died. All right, that's fascinating. Thank you for telling us that story that nobody asked for, Brendan, but please get to the point. What does it know? We'll tell you in just a second, but it's getting chilly and there is a large herd of birds screaming at each other, so I'm gonna go inside. Okie dokie, it's better in here. So the Blockbuster Netflix battle can sort of be seen as a cautionary fable of some sorts for the church. Blockbuster and Netflix, they both had the same message. They were trying to do the same thing. One of them failed, the other one thrived and succeeded. We can either be Blockbuster or we can be Netflix as the church. And what do I mean by that? Like Chris said in one of his earlier videos this week or last week, does our community miss the church when we don't gather? And I'd like to add on to that question and say, does our community miss our church like we miss Blockbuster? Or is the church going to be Netflix? Are we going to be vital? Are we going to be part of the conversation? Are we going to be moving into the future and actually making a difference like God called us to do? That's why I love the fact that in this story, Blockbuster and Netflix had the exact same message. The message never changed. The method did. Our message as the church has never changed. It will never change. As the scripture says, it's the faith that's been once delivered. It's right over there. Love God, share Jesus, serve humbly. That is the message that we've always shared. But our methods have changed very much in the 2,000 years that the church has existed as a body. Look up communion in one kind. That was the standard for hundreds of years. We are thankfully doing things very different right now. So I don't have the answer, but the question that I would like to share, the question that I would like us to think and start asking ourselves is, what methods are we willing to change in order that the message gets out more effectively and more vibrantly and more meaningfully than we've ever done before? And this time, this coronavirus, this pandemic is a perfect time to do that because things are already changing. Things are already shaken up and different. So we can use that disruption, that unusual time, as a chance to look at our methods, as a chance to look at what we're doing and see, where is this working, where is this not working, where could it be more effective for the glory of God? Or we could sit around, and I don't mean just like technical stuff like the fact that I'm making this video for YouTube, or we've got soundboards and light switches and all that stuff. That's not what I'm just talking about. I'm also talking about individual church members. What methods are we going to use as a family, as a church, when we can't gather together physically to spread the gospel? Just like Netflix versus Blockbuster. Blockbuster was centralized. You come here, you come to the building, and you get the DVDs. Netflix, I think we're in a Netflix world right now. It's more decentralized. We go to them, right? How are we going to them? How are you going to your neighbors? How are you going to your friends with the good news of Christ right here and right now? So I'm curious what you all think. What have you seen change in the church over the time that you've been a part of it? What methods have you seen that have been particularly effective in spreading the gospel, in spreading the glory of God around the world as we're called to do? What things have you seen that we tried and that failed spectacularly? Because it's okay to try things and fail, otherwise we never learn. What have you seen? What have you experienced? I'm curious. I really think God is using this. I think God is going to use this time to shake us up and to put us back together in a way that brings him more glory, that brings him more honor, and that shows the world the truth of the message that Jesus brought. As always, we love you. We're praying for you. We can't wait to get back together in time eventually. But for now, let's really sit in this moment that God's given us and let's see what is coming out of that. So go about your days, love like Jesus, and remember, be Netflix. Don't be Blockbuster. Because now it's a joke.